What's up, guys? Welcome back. We're back in my garage. And our next project is going to be a Junkyard F-100. I bought this F-100 from the Junkyard. So this is going to be a nice Junkyard revival. I've never tried to restore one of these F-100s before, so this is going to be the first time. So this is going to be all new. So hopefully you guys enjoy this build of the Ford F-100. I think this will be a good one. This is, it's going to be fun. And what I am going to do, we're going to pull this whole truck apart, and we're going to try to take everything down to the frame, make sure the frame is good, and then we're going to put all new body panels and everything, interior, all new suspension on this truck. Now these wires might not come off. Yeah, they don't seem to be wanting to come off, so maybe they'll come off on reload. We'll see. Now this truck is going to be a little bit different to try to figure out, obviously. This is a modded truck. So it's going to go together a little. It's going to, you know, be pulled apart and put back together a little differently than the in-game, base game vehicles, so it's going to be a little bit of a learning experience to figure out how to do this truck, but I'm quite certain that it can be figured out. Might be able to just pull this whole thing off. And I don't know. Maybe we could take this whole steering linkage off, but looks like it wants us to take the whole thing apart, which is fine. And we already have it apart, so it's already done with. I'm looking forward to this. I am looking forward to this. I will say that if any of you guys are interested in this truck, it was, and it still is listed on Nexus Mods, the F-100, but the problem is you download it from Nexus Mods, it's not gonna work because I tried multiple times and then I tried to figure out why it's not working. And well, I figured out that the mod maker, which is Fede's, Fede's does a lot of other mods that you'll see on Nexus. He does a lot of them. And he's also the mod maker of the F-100, and also you'll see the F-350 that is on Nexus also. He's made that one also. Now, I don't know about the F-350. I hadn't tried it to see if it works. But the F-100 from Nexus, you put it in your game. For me, it didn't work, and I don't think it works that way now. You actually have to join his Patreon. Pay a subscription for his Patreon. And then once you link your Patreon and Discord together, you have to be a member of his Discord. And then you'll get then access on his Discord to the mod link, the mod download to download this mod for it to work. There's a another thing or two you have to do to make this mod show up in game. So yeah, if you try to just download this now from Nexus, it's probably not going to work for you. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think it will. So how do we get these off of here? See, certain things aren't going to match up just right because it's a mod, as you can see there. I don't think things match up exactly right, but, you know. It's a, oh, maybe it does. It snapped right back up in there. Some, maybe not. None of, that's strange. I didn't loosen any of that up and it came out. But, yeah, so, just wanted to tell you guys that if any of you guys, you know, ask that, and I'll probably still get someone in the comments ask, where do you get that at, because they didn't watch this part of the video. Happens almost every time. And I'll just tell them, you know what, refer to the video. Need to take that off, but, well, it's going to come off for us. the transmission doesn't want to seem to come off either. There's this drive shaft. So the starter's loosened up. It won't come off. Fantastic, unless there's some kind of other bolt here that didn't match up with the starter, maybe. Sometimes that happens with the wires because it's a modded vehicle. I'm not sure. Let's get this transfer case out of here if we can. Yep. Nice transfer case. This truck is going to look absolutely awesome when we get done with it. It's going to look awesome. It's a great looking modded truck. I mean, just overall, the F-100 is just a great looking pickup truck as it is. So, all right, well, it's all loosened up, but it's not wanting to come out. So, or at least to my knowledge, it looks like it's all good. So, how do we get some of this out? We might have to get the welder out. Or not the welder, but the plasma cutter to start cutting the cab apart. Seeing how we go from there. Floor of the truck there. All right, well. And I'm not sure if it's missing any of the cross members of the frame or not. I really don't know. Let's go get the plasma cutter. See if we can start cutting off this cab. Okay, I might have to cut this off here for that to come off, possibly. Yep. All right, so same thing with here. Yep. Those wires should fall off on reload. Okay, so these right here, the front panels. Let's try to get this roof off next. Oh, and that bed wall there, we got to take off. That's the bed wall, I believe. Should come off of there. Oh no, that spit out the firewall. Or exterior firewall. Okay, well, interesting. That didn't take the cab. Well, maybe these will. There we go. And I'll tell you right now, we're going to end up saving a decent amount, so get ready for that. Because like I've said, this is the first time doing this truck, and I don't want to mess it up. Because if you take too many pieces off a vehicle, and you don't have, I think, at least 2 different pieces welded together, like from the frame and that, you're going to lose your vehicle forever. You're never going to get it back. So if you try to put pieces on there, they're not going to go on. Alright, so this cab might just... Is there bolts to unbolt it? Like on the... No, this is maybe for the... That cross frame there. Cross member, whatever you want to... Or, I don't know, maybe that holds the cab on, possibly? I don't know, we can try it, I guess. Oh yeah, because there's there, and then you have those welds, those in this weld for that. So I'm wondering if these right here, this one and this one, is for the cab. Let me just save real quick. Alright. Nice and quick like. And let's cut that and see if that will pop off. No, that did not come off. Or at least it didn't seem. Huh. Okay, well, I don't want to cut too much here. Even though we have all these cross pieces here, which we should be good. Because you can tell that they have their own individual weld points. Well, maybe this is probably just the back wall of the cab. Yeah, that was for the back wall. Yeah, rear cabin wall. Do we just want to try to cut this floor off, I guess, and the firewall to... Okay, there we go. There's the firewall. Interior firewall. So we have interior and exterior firewalls. So now we got to try to get this floor off of here. And I'm not sure how that's going to go. Huh. The in-game B200 cab bolts on, as you guys know. Huh. Maybe this here is what's keeping it on? So what do we got here? Right front panel? So is this a left front panel then? Like almost like a floor, like floor mat type of deal? Left front panel. And that's still not off of there. Do we try to cut the welds that are right here? So you got this. I'm thinking these smaller welds here are going to take this frame support off of there. And yes, I was right. I was right about that. It's in bad condition, but I'm going to weld that back up. We're going to move the welder out here. Yeah. This still... The wire spool still... Well, still falls off of here on reload. There we go. Alright, let's get this here. I'm going to replace that cross piece here that we just cut off. But I'm going to weld it back on for now. Because I'm not at that point that I want to start possibly tearing the frame apart. Because I think it would be a good idea to tear the frame apart. Just, I'm not ready to do that yet. I want to get everything off the frame. So that means I'm going to have to probably load back in. Because obviously the transmission isn't being... Yeah, that was for the jack. Obviously the wires aren't being held in by anything, to my knowledge. The starter isn't because it's unbolted. And the gearbox doesn't look to be being held on by anything. So I think we're going to have to reload back in. Maybe this floor will come off too. I don't know. Let me see if I can get in here. Is there any bolts or anything? I don't see any bolts. I'm going to load back in, guys, and we'll see how this all goes. Just give me a second. All right, guys, we are back, as you see. Nothing fell out. So I'm not exactly sure. There's a lot of times where you have to reload back in and things will just fall out on reload. It's just how the game is, because it's kind of buggy that way, I guess you want to call it. But or maybe, oh no, that's going to be still the jack, isn't it? Nothing is coming out here. We undid that bolt there. There's no other bolts here. Let me see. Yeah, there's no invisible bolts here anywhere that I see. Yeah. There's no invisible bolts. All this is loosened. I really don't know. Wish things could just work properly. I don't see what's holding this thing in. There is nothing here that's holding this in. This floor, either. I just don't see it. This is where things get a little frustrating with my garage when you have stuff like this happening, when there is clearly nothing holding this stuff in, but still it wants to free float there in the air with nothing holding it in. This is kind of the stuff that just shouldn't happen with this game. But it does, and it's been in the game for years. And now I'm going on rants again, and I shouldn't, but it is what it is, man. Every last person that plays this game deals with this kind of garbage. And this stuff has been in the game for years, and still the developer fails and fails and fails and fails and fails time and time and time again to correct this kind of garbage. And it's ridiculous. People are going to say, oh, it's because of it's a modded vehicle and this and that, and it's a mod. No, it's not. This happens with the base game vehicles too. And I've proved it because it's happened on my videos before. It's happened for other people. So yeah, you can shove that mod garbage up your behind. That's how I feel about it. And I'm saying it in the nicest way that I can. Because I would, right now, usually choose some other words. You know, and people get so damn offended by every little thing anymore. I don't get it. There's nothing holding this garbage in. Nothing. I don't get it. Look. Nothing. Nothing holding this stuff in. I mean, I don't get it. What's... How are those there again? How are those freaking welds on there again? We cut those. We just cut them with the plasma cutter. Why are they still there again? They just automatically come back again? I cut those. And I have proof of it because you saw it in the video I cut those. And I cut these welds for this cross support too. And then now it wants to come out. I don't get it. I just don't get it. And like I say, I love this game. This is one of my favorite games, but it's stuff like that. It's just the bugs that have been in this game forever. And the developer fails to fix them. And yes, I can target him for it. The developer, because he is the sole developer of this game. And I target him. That's probably not the right word to use. But like I can pinpoint this issue. This is his fault. His fault because he's failed to let this kind of garbage stay in the game for years now without fixing it. And you can't tell me he doesn't know about it, because he does. It's his game. He knows all the bugs with it. Every last one. By now. Especially the ones that have been in there for years. Yeah, he knows about it. What is holding in this garbage here? What is holding that in? Great, we got the floor off. But what is holding the gearbox and this garbage in? There's no wires or bolts around that. Or that. You know, maybe there's like an invisible bolt there we can't see. There's no bolts there at those locations where there would be. You have everything out. Why is this transmission hanging in the air? Why? Why? Please, someone in the comments tell me why this is doing that. And like I said, you can't say just because it's a modded vehicle that it's doing that. Because then at that point, you're just lying about the issue. You were straight up lying about the issue. If you're saying this is a mod issue right here. It's not. This happens to the base game vehicles, like I've said. No wonder why the player base for this game gets smaller and smaller and smaller as the time goes on. It's stuff like this that all the bugs in this game that have been in there for years just push people away and just think that this game is just complete garbage, and you know, it's so buggy that you can't play it. Like, I've seen so many reasons why people don't play this game, and one of the most common things that come up is this game is just so buggy you can't play it. And there's a certain point that I do agree with him. But like I say, I've been able to look past all that, and it's become one of my most favorite games. You know, when I actually first bought this game one time, and I played it for about 45 minutes or something like that, somewhere around there, and I couldn't stand it. Like, it was just so, you couldn't understand it, or for me, it was hard to understand. I didn't get the game because there's nothing really showing you how to go about doing things, really, for the most part. And I couldn't figure anything out, so I was like, screw it. I returned the game and got my refund. But then about a couple months later, I'm like, you know what? Let me buy it again, give it a try. So many people are playing this game. They figured it out. Why can't I? And then I actually gave it a real shot. And it's turned into one of my most favorite games. You know, I mean, bottom line is people don't give, you know, don't try to give things, whether it's a game or anything in life, they don't try to give things a shot. You know, they just give up on things too easily. I'm not going to try to do that with this truck. I'm going to try to figure it out. I mean, I'm going to have to try to reload back in, and if I can try to get this figured out, we'll figure it out. If not, I'm just going to sell the truck, and I'm going to try to find another F-100 And we'll go from there again. So I'll catch up with you guys here in a little bit. Alright, guys, we are back after several reload-ins and a game crash. Yes, of course, a game crash. If you try to save and quit and reload back in more than 2 or 3 times, your game loves to crash. My garage loves to crash. So, I've had it happen to me many times. I've heard it from a lot of other people, so yes, another issue with the game. But nothing will come out. The starter's unbolted. It's just hanging there. The wire is nothing. Transmission, nothing is holding this in. And it is still hanging in midair with nothing holding it in. So, I think I've showed you enough with this truck here. We're going to move on. That's why I have this one here. And this is how I bought it. So there is not much left of it. There's less of this truck than what was of that. A little bit less. Not much, a little bit. But we'll see what issues we have with this truck. So I will be selling the rest of this here. I got to pull it off the jacks. If not, the jacks will sell with the truck. So we don't want that. So let's get to it and see if we can pull this truck apart. Now, since we've had to deal with all that nonsense with the first truck, there's not going to be as much shown now in the rest of this video. I'm going to try to get this truck pulled apart, and that's really going to be about it. I thought there was welds in here before on the other one. Yeah, there were welds down here too. So are some welds not going to show up on this truck? If I have problems with the second one, I'm done with the F-100 altogether. And yes, I will put out the video. And a lot of you will complain that, oh, the video was awful, it didn't show anything, da-da-da-da-da. You know, like you guys like to be keyboard... Well, not all you guys. There's just a handful that like to be keyboard warriors, you know. Certainly most of you guys are not that way. I don't mean to put everyone in that category because that's not fair to do. The battery fell out. Nothing was really holding the battery in, so that makes sense. All right, so we definitely had welds like right here in this area to cut that off there. These. And those are not showing up. So what's the deal, yo? What's the deal? Yeah, the welds on the cab here are not showing up. Here. Huh. Okay, well. Gotta love it. Well, you don't have to, because I'm certainly not loving it right now. Yep. I don't know. I just have to save and quit and load back in and see if anything happens. I mean, if not, I am done with this F-100. I just said about not, giving up on things, but I think after the second one, trying it for right now is enough. If things don't change with this vehicle here, I think I've had enough for now. Doesn't mean I won't come back to this F-100 later on just to see if I can get things worked out. But as of right now, this may be it in this video. This video may just be absolutely pointless. I'll still upload it for you guys so you have something to complain about. That the video was awful. Because one thing about YouTube, even if you're getting hate comments and garbage comments by people, it's still interaction. And any interaction, whether good or bad on YouTube, YouTube loves it. And it promotes your content more. Yeah! So I'd be doing me a disservice if I didn't post this video. Even if we didn't really do much of anything in this video. Alright, let's see if any more welds will want to show up for us. See, the welds on the floor want to show up, but these welds back here, some on the frame, but none of these other welds want to show up that were showing up even on the other truck. So we know there's supposed to be welds there, obviously, but we're not seeing any. Alright guys, I saved and exited and loaded back in. I have not checked anything yet. I do not know. So, I'm going to take this one off the jack stands, and I'm going to sell the dang thing. As you see, bolts on the starter are still undone, everything, and it's still floating there. So, I don't know what the issue is. Usually, when you load back in, that kind of stuff falls off the vehicle. So, it has not, and I've loaded in multiple times again since then, and the stuff's still hanging there. You can't build a new vehicle with a bad gearbox and bad wires still hanging there in midair. It's not going to work. So, I don't know what I do at this point. I just don't know. So, I'm going to sell this hunk of junk here, and then we're going to try to see if these welds show back up. If not, this truck is getting sold too, bottom line. Okay, look now, they show back up. You guys see this, man? I'm not doing any of this. Like I can't just not make welds show up. You know, either they're gonna, if they're cut, they're gonna show up with the welder, or if they're not cut, they're gonna show up with the plasma cutter. I'm telling you now, like you can't just not make these welds not show up in some form. I mean, you guys are seeing it. I mean, and this happens with the base game vehicles too. Happens to me all the time with the base game vehicles. Maybe not necessarily to this extent, but it happens. It's actually a quite common occurrence. See, look, none of those welds are showing up before. Even the ones underneath of here. Now they want to show up. There we go. Finally getting somewhere. Well, we thought we were with the first truck too, and how'd that turn out for us? You know, at this point, I'm kind of being a little bit of a smartass about the situation, but I'm just annoyed, you know, that this kind of stuff should not be happening in this game still. Years later, after these kind of bugs have been in the game since almost the beginning. How the hell does that come off when there's still a weld to cut? You gotta be kidding me. You know, sometimes you just gotta laugh at the stuff that happens in the game, you know? And I'm not trying to make this... Excuse me. You guys saw that too there. And now, can we get this hunk of junk off of here? Well, come off. Are there two welds? There are two welds there. Regardless, even if we only cut the one weld instead of two, if there's two welds on each side, still... Okay, that's just the floor. That doesn't account for the gearbox hanging there in midair, in midair, the wires, the starter when the starter was unbolted and nothing was holding it on. So that doesn't account for any of that. And this now is not coming off either. Fan freaking test. All right, this piece will come out. Okay, so it's not that piece holding it in. We go in here and see anything. I don't see any freaking welds. I don't see any welds anywhere. Like I've said, I've had these kind of similar problems with the base game vehicles, or any vehicle for that matter, whether it's a modded vehicle or not, but not to this extent. So I don't know. Maybe it is partially the mod. I don't know. I really don't know. You know, I don't know about that kind of stuff when it comes to this type of thing. So we cut 2 welds that were on here. And I'm not talking about the welds for this piece. There were 2 welds there and 2 welds there. Why is this not coming off? Why is the cab floor not coming off? I mean, I'm pretty sure we've already established there is no bolts. There are no bolts for the cab floor. I don't know. Let me load back in, and since I've already loaded back in, who knows, the game may crash again, and then I have to wait for it to all load back in, which takes absolutely forever. And that's partially my fault, because I play with mods, but still, takes forever. Alright, give me another second, guys. For you, it would just be a second. For me, it'll be a little while. Alright, guys. As you see, the cab of the floor is on the ground now. When I loaded back in, it was on the ground. This is the kind of thing that usually happens when pieces are stuck and they're not attached by anything. And then you load back in and usually they're on the ground and they fall off after, you know, on reload. This is a normal occurrence with my garage. And that's which is what usually happens on that first truck. That's what I thought would have happened with the gearbox and the wires and the starter. But it was being held there by a invisible force, if you want to say, that was not letting go. So, that did come out just like that, loaded in and fell to the floor. That cab floor is out of there. So now, wow, that's at 1%. That thing's about to go anytime. And that still looks visually good. Interesting. All right, well, we can worry about replacing this frame now. This should be pretty dang interesting. Now, this is a front frame support. So let's go in here. Go to F-100. I did have all this set before, but I've had to reload in probably close to a dozen times, and it's... This truck has been nothing but a headache. I will tell you that right now. It's been nothing but a headache. Front frame support. I think that's what we need, right? Front frame support. Front frame support. Okay. Let's put this in. And after we put this in, the welds are going to show back up for me, or... Oh... Okay, so the welds to cut are showing up. You gotta be kidding me. Absolutely kidding me. What the... You gotta... Come on. All right, well, that's why I grabbed this, to see if they would show up with the base game welder, and they most certainly are. So maybe we'll just have to use that from now on. Okay, so now that we have that front piece in, I wanted to get that in. It was no point to put this bad one back in there, welded in, just to try to replace the frame rails. Because that's what I'm going to work on next, is replacing each side of the frame rails. We're going to attempt to do that. It's easier said than done. Okay, so there's only one set of each here. So let's just grab one. Actually grab two, but throw one on the ground and see what side this is. Frame rail right. So that means it's this side. So you're at the back of the vehicle. That's the right side. If you know your left from your right. And great. Just kicking some more stuff around like I always do. Oh, this truck has been... Well, now my welds don't want to show up now. Oh, no. Okay, they showed up. Alright, where is the weld on this guy? Right there. Hey, at least there's no collisions under this F-100 like the B-200. That's just like that because I'm trying to fit underneath of there. Alright, so now... Frame rail right. Man, these frame rails are shot too. Maybe these frame rails don't have any wear on them because it's a mod. Alright, frame rail right, which is 100%. Should go back on. Yep, and it does. Is this going to show my welds up on it? Nope. Let's see if the base game will show up. And they do. So who knows if it's with those modded tools there. I don't know. There's some kind of conflict with the F-100 in those tools. I don't know. I took out the infinite cut and weld mod because I didn't think I needed anymore, but but I'm gonna need it. That's all right. There's really not that much to weld here with this stuff right here. That's fine. I'm not really worried about it. It'll be just fine. Replacing these frame rails, and then we will do the cross frame rails. And I'm hoping that all the frame rails were here to start with. I'll look in the catalog to make sure that we have all the cross frame rails. We certainly don't want to miss any, right? There's we go. Let's try her again. Anything gonna come up? Nope. You know what could be bad? Nope, we still have juice in the tank. Oh, I'm betting you. Yeah, see, on reload, I forgot. The wire spool still falls out. That's probably why. Come on, get on there. There we go. Probably why it's not showing up. Possibly. Nope. Looks like I'm wrong. Nope, looks like I'm wrong again. So that wire spool was off of there. That's why it must not have been showing up. Alright, there we go. So just remember, if you have this Bull's tool pack right now, which he may get it fixed, which I thought he had fixed it, but the wire spool is still falling off on reload, which appears to be why the welds were not showing up with that welder, but they were showing up with the base game welder. That could be possibly it. I'm not saying that's what it is, just saying that's a possibility. So now we got to worry about this guy here. So let's get this one cut up. We will replace one of these at a time. That is a middle frame support. Yeah, middle or frame middle support. Frame middle support. Middle frame brace. Frame middle support. Wouldn't it sound better if it was middle frame support instead of frame middle support? I don't know. What do I know? Frame middle support. Frame middle support. Yes, same thing. All right. Get the old welder up. Yeah, I guess that's what it was, maybe. Just the wire spool was just not on there. All right, so let's jump to the other one, which is this guy here. And that is the middle frame brace. See, now that sounds right, middle frame brace. And the reason why I got kind of so frustrated things weren't working is, yes, with the bugs and the jankiness in this game, that kind of stuff shouldn't happen, right? But the reason why is I paid to have access to this mod, the F-100 mod. I paid to have access to this. And that's what kind of, was frustrating me, that it's like, I paid to have access to this thing, and it doesn't seem to be working right. Whether it was the game doing it, because like I said, that kind of stuff happens with the base game vehicles. Whether it's the game, a bug in the game that's doing it, or it's the mod, or it's a combination of both, I don't know. But still, it's frustrating when you paid to have access to this F-100 mod. Frame bed support. So you guys get what I'm saying there? Frame bed support. Get this last guy out of here. Possibly is the last one. I'm not sure. Like I said, we're going to have to check the catalog. Rear frame support. Frame rear support. Should be rear frame support. Team support front. Frame rear support. Wait a minute. Frame middle support. Okay, yeah, we got that one. That was the first one. Or second one we did. Frame rear support. There we go. Making sure I was putting the right one in. All right, so let's go check the catalog again. I think we got pretty much our frame replaced to all new frame. So let's go check the catalog. Make sure that we have all the frame pieces. So we have front support. Did we add that? Was that the very first one we did? Maybe we'll come back and grab it and see if that one goes on anywhere. Rear light holder flatbed. Okay, so that must be for the flatbed version of it, which is right here. And actually, the flatbed does look like that actual wood. I do actually like the look of the flatbed. But I don't think we're going to do this one a flatbed. We're going to put a regular bed on it. And I think I might actually, I think there's a cap you can put on here too. I think I'm going to build the cap. I'm going to do it all up, because why not, I paid money to get access to this mod, so why not? Rear frame brace. Okay, we put the rear frame support. But what about the rear frame brace? Okay, and then let's try the front support. I think that this might still have to go on there. Yeah, it does. I don't like how long the welds take to show up, you know? It might have been this piece we put on here. You don't know. It could have been. Frame front support. One of these are... No, that's the frame middle support. Might have been this one over here. Frame front support, which is this here, which is probably the front one, because this is, I think, maybe the middle one here. This one. And then you have all these, so I think we have... I could have counted them. I could have counted them in the catalog. You know, you just got to make sure this is a new mod that you're doing. You just got to make sure that you're building it right. So, how many frame supports do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have like that 6th one. So, let's go back and count in the catalog. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Well, we must not be able to count, right? 1, 2. We missed that one. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. So that's all of them, I believe. It's all of them, I believe. So, oh, this truck has been an absolute headache, but we're finally getting somewhere with it. So, I think that was really our only choice with that first truck, is just finally just, like I said, you don't want to give up on things too early, but when you've tried and tried over again and things just don't change and you've tried everything, sometimes it's just best to move on. So that's what we did there. We moved on from that truck, and as you know, we sold it, and we have this now, and finally we had issues with this one too, as you saw. Oh. So yeah, this has been a big headache. Like, it's taken forever to record this video. And this video is not even going to be all that crazy long. Maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour. I mean, that's standard for my videos, basically. But this took much, much longer to record. So, I'm sorry I went on some rants and things like that in this video. I apologize for any of that. But it gets frustrating sometimes, guys. Especially when you paid money for something and then you have all of these issues. Any of you would do the same thing. You'd feel the same way. I know it. You can't sit there and say you wouldn't, because you would. And the only reason why you wouldn't say it is, well, I guess you love to waste money, I guess. I guess for you, money grows on trees. But that's going to do it for this one. I know it wasn't... We didn't do a whole lot because we've had so many issues with this truck so far, but that's how it goes sometimes in the world of my garage. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave it a like. If you like my content, like my channel, consider subscribing to me. All your support is greatly appreciated. So until next time, guys, we'll see you later.